So, last video we went over the worst 46 course parts in the entire game of Mario Maker 2. If you missed that video and want to get caught up, click that icon in the upper corner. There's also a link in the description. Here's a refresher for the rules. The item has to be available in multiple styles, so no style-specific power-ups, and we aren't ranking 3D World because it's too different. Let me know in the comments if you want a separate video on that. And I'll be ranking it based on how many uses it has, how fun it can be, how interesting it is, and how much it can interact with other items. And this list is subjective, although I tried my best to be objective. Let me know where I went wrong down in the comments, and let's get into things. Number 45, Boom Boom. Welcome to the Boss Rush. I'll be ranking all of the bosses here, apart from Bowser, because he's a bit further up the list. Boom Boom is boring, easy to beat, and his variants don't add that much, but it is nice to have a boss that's not a Koopa, even if he does continue the trend of Demented Turtle. Number 44, Larry Koopa. He's the most basic Koopaling, it just shoots basic projectiles and spins around. It makes sense though, given he tends to be the tutorial boss in most Mario games. Number 43, Iggy. A harder version of Larry, with more unpredictable movement patterns and more projectiles at any one time. Also, he likes chain jumps. Number 42, Roy. The first here with a special move. Unfortunately, it tends to open him up to getting hit more than it actually takes down the player. Number 41, Ludwig von Koopa. Kind of a harder version of Iggy. He'll channel his inner Yoshi with flutter jumps and shoot a lot of projectiles at any one time. Number 40, Morton. His special move allows fireballs to move around the boss arena. This is pretty cool, and coupled with his ground pound stunning you if you don't jump, can make for some interesting scenarios. Number 39, Wendy. Her rings will bounce off the sides of the arena. I put her near the top because she has an interesting move. Yeah, she's pretty cool. Number 38, Lemmy. The best Koopaling is Lemmy, whose bouncing balls really set him apart from the rest. They're super unique projectiles as far as the rest of the Koopalings go. Number 37, Bowser Jr. You can make a case for some of the Koopalings being better, but BJ has more interesting variants. Also, he deserves respect. Lots of respect. Number 36, Twister. While I'd like it if they interacted with more things, the Twister is a perfectly fine addition. It can allow enemies extra movement options and can be implemented in a level in a decent number of ways. We now have our own little tornado, and for some reason I really like items that have never appeared in a Mario game before. Number 35, Vine. While I find it most useful for decoration, the fact that it adds a whole new move to Mario's kit, climbing, all by itself means that I can't really rate it any lower. It can make for some interesting challenges, especially because movement on it is much slower and less variable than it is on the ground. Number 34, Key. Vital for certain doors. The big thing though is that boss fights just can't work without these little things. The cherry on top is the cursed key in the Super Mario Bros. Style, which I believe marks the very first invincible enemy in the game. Number 33, Door. Extremely helpful for transportation around the stage, although it would be nice if we could have more than just 4 per area. Still, a very handy object. Number 32, Swinging Claw. This little thing is super interesting, and no matter what you're doing, it'll react. If you walk under it, it'll release things. You can stand on top of its held items or jump off anything in its grasp. Honestly, I haven't seen much out of this item, but it has so much potential. Please make me an incredible Swinging Claw level. If you do, I will play it. Number 31, Icicle. The fact that it's on the ground layer opens up a lot of new possibilities. You can make the ceiling collapse, add invisible spikes, or simply use them as excellent decoration in ice levels. Number 30 and number 29, Hard Block and Ice Block. These are super useful. You can put them on tracks, scroll stop with them, and then undo that with bombs, or simply use them as decorators. Super simple, but super versatile blocks. Ice blocks are interchangeable with the hard block, but I ranked it a little higher because it's a slippery surface. In fact, it's the only piece of terrain with a slippery surface outside of the Ice Knight theme. Number 28, Seesaw. Everything has weight now! These are incredibly complex. You can launch things with thwomps, create cool puzzles by balancing things, or use it as an interesting platform to spice up your level. Number 27, Bowser. Would it even be a Mario game without the Koopa King? Bowser's variations add a ton to the game. He can make meteors drop from the sky, chase you through a maze, or simply be a cool boss in a cool boss arena. He's definitely the most interesting boss and the hardest to defeat. Number 26, Fire Flower, Bowser's nemesis, the plant, and the player's main form of attack in many levels. It can ignite Bob-Ombs, defeat most enemies, and bounce along the terrain. It doubles as the Super Ball Flower in the Super Mario Bros. Style, which is also interesting and makes for some good puzzle levels. Number 25 and 24, Gentle Slope and Steep Slope. Here are the slopes. Form your own opinion about where ground should be, but slopes belong up here. They allow Mario to slide, make drastic improvements to level decoration, and can basically change the entire feeling of a level. Steep slopes are above gentle slopes simply because of the increased variation compared to ground. Number 23, Spike. Spike by himself is a great new enemy, but more important than Spike is that he adds two other things, the Spike Ball and the Snowball. Both of these are incredibly useful in both contraptions and normal levels. Spike Balls can transmit signals like shells, and Snowballs can do that too, and more. Number 22, Boo. Boos can interact with everything except the environment, as well as having other unique properties. You can use them to detect which way Mario is facing, drop things at walls, stack them to have items at the top of the level, indirectly interact with those at the bottom, not to mention their cool boo ring and grounded states. These are excellent enemies. Number 21, Yoshi Egg. Our favorite dinosaur opens up tons of new movement options, like the flutter jump in the new Super Mario Bros. Style, eating enemies, and bouncing off grinders. His alternate form of Fire Yoshi can spit fireballs too. Number 20, Goomba Shoe. Interchangeable with Yoshi, but I felt this afforded more options. You can ground pound with the stiletto, which also sends out these weird air shockwave things. You can replicate the flutter jump by putting wings on them, but of course, you can't eat enemies. Number 19, On-Off Switch. This was one of the hardest for me to rate, as it can interact with so many other things like dotted line blocks, conveyor belts, and tracks, all three of which are incredible parts that can influence the game in amazing ways. But without those things, this is useless. It's tricky to rate, so please remember to take my opinions with a large grain of salt. Number 18, Conveyor Belt. Want to transport enemies and items, make an interesting boss arena, or add a bit of platforming challenge? Use the Conveyor Belt. This speaks for itself. There's not much I can tell you about it. Number 17, One-Way Wall. A semi-solid that works in all directions? Yes please. This is more helpful for actually making level layouts and restricting access to certain places, but it can also be used in Kaizo stages, for instance, to protect Mario from just one side of a spike trap. Number 16, Mechakoopa. Though it was added super recently, I'm already astounded by what people can do with it. Awesome for Kaizo stages, adds a lot to castles and airships, and has some of the most distinct alternate forms of any items, with exploding bullets and lasers. Number 15, Muncher. A movable enemy with a hitbox that can be stood on and destroyed. This might not seem very useful at first glance, but this little abomination is used in almost every contraption due to the sterile nature of its interaction. Number 14, Pipe. One of the most useful forms of terrain. Excellent for decoration, but they also allow for level traversal, as they can allow the player to access the subworld. Number 13, Thwomp. This is undoubtedly one of the most useful enemies in the entire game. It can be used for anything from puzzles to spin jump challenges to races to interesting contraptions to simply closing off a boss arena. And it's a great normal enemy, forcing the player to mix up their route through the level. Number 12, P-Switch. Now we've gotten into the carryables. Obviously, items that you can carry around have enormous utility. The P-Switch is great, offering manipulation of the environment by swapping the states of coins and bricks, and of P-Blocks. Not to mention, P-Switch jumps are a really fun Kaizo trick to pull off. Number 11, Pow Block. A movable block you can stand on, and can kill any enemy touching the ground. Puzzle, speedruns, Kaizos, puzzling speedrun Kaizo. It works great in a traditional level by giving the player an option to make the immediate section easier or conserve it for a harder part of the level. Number 10, Trampoline. This interacts with everything. Mario bounces off of it, enemies bounce off of it, pals and P-switches and shells bounce off of it. You can carry it around. What really defines a good item is how it can make any kind of stage more interesting, and springs certainly fit the bill. Number 9, Dry Bones and Dry Bones Shell. The Dry Bones is a cool enemy, but what's much more important is its variant, the Dry Bones Shell. You can ride on lava and water, it breaks on contact with something, and it adds a whole new move, Playing Dead, which makes Mario temporarily invulnerable. Number 8, Bob-Omb. What makes the Bob-Omb so good as an enemy? Well, its awesome special property allows it to blow up blocks, and Mario can pick it up and throw it for more control. This is one of the best enemies to create boss fights with, because it gives you a cool form of ammunition, and that's all without some of its more niche uses, like bomb spins. Number 7 and 6. Question mark block and block. These blocks have the interesting property of being able to contain items or enemies inside of themselves, only releasing their contents when they're hit by Mario or something else. I put brick blocks slightly higher because they can interact with P-switches and Mario can break them in some forms. Number 5. Track. You can put anything you want on tracks. Blocks? Check. Enemies? Check. Items, bosses, and a bunch of gizmos? Check, check, and check. This is one of the most useful items because it allows you to transport anything, anywhere. You can even change its direction by using on-off blocks. It has decorative abilities and can be used to communicate with the player during the level by signaling what moves should be used next. Number 4. Bill Blaster. These awesome things are affected by gravity. Not only that, but you can have it shoot out anything you want multiple times over. But the main thing is that it's affected by gravity, which is a rare trait in this game. So of course, I use this awesome item primarily to close off boss rooms. Number 3 and 2, Spiny and Buzzy Beetle. Oh guys, prepare for a long one. Without a doubt, these two enemies are the best enemies in the entire game. Simply as enemies, they're amazing. Their variations are incredible, with the flying Spiny shooting interesting projectiles and the flying Buzzy Beetle going up when Mario stands on it and down when he's not. But that's not the best part. Each of them can simply be put in the level as their shelves, which can be used in machines to transport signals. To paraphrase Steve Gaming, shells are the electricity of Mario Maker. Shooting a Buzzy Beetle shell out of a cannon allows Mario to stand on it and ride on it. But even that's not all. Mario can wear these shells, giving his head interesting new abilities. Spiky shellmets let Mario break hard blocks and kill almost any enemy from below, while the normal shellmet lets Mario propel enemies upward. Woo! And that's just a basic overview of everything. I didn't even give you ideas. I ranked Buzzy Beetle slightly higher because of its property when shot from Bill Blasters, and because I think that bouncing enemies up is slightly more interesting than simply killing them. But like some other things, these are interchangeable. Number 1. Dotted line block. I'm sure a fair number of you expected it, but at the very top of my list is the dotted line block. Of course, this block's use is dependent on the on-off switch, but that's a small price to pay. I had a really hard time deciding on the placement of things on this list, but I knew since I had the idea for this video that these would be taking the top spot. Give me literally any kind of level to make, and I can make it twice as interesting with these. Any genre, any of these tags. I've mentioned that I was doing this ranking off of how useful an item was and how interesting it was when used in conjunction with other parts, and nothing beats this gizmo. And there you have it, everyone. Each of the 91 course parts in Mario Maker 2 ranked. Let me know where I went wrong, and if you want another video about the 3D World style, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. VG Chat, out!